Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
These are words that I, along with a lot of people, need to live by. Listen carefully. Frame every so-called disaster with these words. In 5 years, will it matter? Good morning. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance on a Monday, January the 9th. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch as we start a brand new week. And, of course, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Right now, without further ado, let's go with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Well, my buddy, how are you?
I'd be finer than a frog here.
All right, go ahead with the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I did. Green Bay won quite handily in their first game in the playoffs, so everything is rosy.
That's what I was going to ask you this morning, if you're a happy camper.
I was. Yeah, I was tickled to death yesterday. They started off playing like they were a high school team and ended up playing like they should be Super Bowl champions.
Yeah, both of them started off a little slow.
Well, New York, absolutely. New York forgot how to catch a football.
Oh, didn't they?
Yeah. And, a lot of people say, I had a call already this morning, and they say, oh, Zeb, you sure were lucky yesterday. Wait a minute, whoa. What's lucky about catching the football and scoring? And that just is what you're paid to do. Unlucky is not catching the football and not scoring.
Exactly. Yeah, there were some good games this weekend.
Absolutely.
Pretty slow, and then all of a sudden, the good team just took off.
That's true. That's true. It's going to be a great tournament, if you will. Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks so much. There he goes, my old buddy Doug Martin over there. Thank you. It's time now for the weather. Oh, is it time for the weather? Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door. Oh, my goodness. You know what they say? If you want a more open and chic look to your rooms, try some natural beige and gray to open your space with a kind of a new in-trend thought and vision. Yes, sirree. I'll tell you what, they are going to have another girls' night out February 3rd at 6 p.m. And let's see, I've got to check all this out. Be sure and stop by the store and register if you want to be there. A lot of fun at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And right now, here's the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for this very wet Monday, January 9th, and we are expecting heavy amounts of precipitation between now and Wednesday, so that is going to create some possible flooding conditions, so especially in the low-lying areas, and expect local creeks to reach flood stage. We are looking at rain and snow showers for today, winds out of the southwest right around 17 miles an hour. High of 39 tonight, low of 26. That's going to create some very slick driving conditions out there for tonight. Tomorrow, snow showers are in the forecast for the higher elevations, possible rain showers for the lower elevations. Winds will continue out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Temperature temperature's not going to be moving much for tomorrow. High of 36, overnight low of 35. Wednesday, again, more rain and snow showers in the forecast, about a 60% shot at that. Winds out of the west right around 16 miles an hour. High of 37, overnight low of 13. We're going to get a couple of days of reprieve as we get on into the weekend. Extended forecast Thursday, mostly sunny skies. High of 25, overnight low of 7. Then partly cloudy and 18 for Friday. So that means that everything's going to be icing up again. Please be careful out there today. That is your weather for Zebba Durant.
I'll tell you what, she does a great job. Comprehensive weather forecast. Thanks, Gina. It's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. All your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, whatever you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. By the way, too, let's not put away those tablecloths from Christmas with the cranberry stains on them. And let's not put away, maybe something else like maybe the slipcovers or whatever. Your curtains, maybe need those cleaned after all the little kids were over for Christmas putting jelly on the curtains and everything. Go get them cleaned at Daryl's Cleaners. They can clean anything, and they will. Stop by 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley and see them today. Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew, and if you prepay, you get a 10% discount. Stop in Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. All right, your turn. Now, we're going to hopefully have a whole bunch of calls this week where you're going to get involved, so give us a jingle on the landline. I don't know if Gina's over there at the board or if Wheels is there. Would the real board operator enter and sign in, please?
Well, good morning, sir.
Hello, sunshine. A little treacherous out there, understand.
It is. It's slushy and it's icy,
yeah.
And I just hope that if anybody's going to work or traveling, that they stay safe and maybe go a few miles under the speed limit that's posted.
All right. Well, listen, I'm glad you're there, but I have a question. Is Gina there so we can talk about some of these closures? Is she available or not?
She's not with me right now, but if you'll give me one moment, I can get her out of the cat studio, and she'll be right here.
I'll tell you what, I'll do a quick commercial, and then I'll be right back, okay? Thank you.
Alrighty.
Don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call, 678-0459. Open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And you know what she said just a moment ago, she being Gina, with the weather forecast, going to get really cold again this next weekend. So make sure your furnace is running efficiently and really helping you stay warm. Get those air filters for your furnace. You can get them in a case of 12 or 1 if you want, but stop in and see Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 2600 Overland in Burley. And remember, they always supply to you warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Nice people. Let me see if Gina's there real quick. Gina, are you there?
I am.
I had a question, and I wanted you to give me a real kind of a short synopsis on this. Okay. I thank you for your help on the closures. Now, I'm understanding that there are still a lot of schools that are going to be closed today because of, honestly, the ice, the slush, the mush, the mess. And I'll go down this list that you sent me, and if there's any additions, correct me, okay?
Oh, okay. Not a problem.
Cassia County Schools, Camas County School District, Canyonside Christian School, Dietrich School District, Gooding School District, Hanson School District, closed until Wednesday, my goodness. Heritage Academy, Idaho School for the Deaf and Blind, Jerome School District, Minidoka School District, North Valley Academy in Gooding, Richfield School District, Shoshone School District, St. Nicholas Catholic School in Rupert, and Wendell School District closed today because I'm assuming of the ice, the slush, and everything else.
Yes, also all Blaine County schools are closed today, and Filer schools are closed today, and Kimberly.
Okay, Blaine, Filer, and Kimberly. Okay. You do a great job getting that information together, and I thank you very much.
Oh, hey, not a problem. And also, Highway 46 going from Gooding to Fairfield, that's also closed from mile marker 111 to mile marker 143 because of drifting snow. And then there are some road closures around the state if you're like maybe going to go up towards past the Wood River Valley, or maybe you're going towards eastern Idaho and Wyoming. There are several different highways that are closed due to avalanche danger. I know that Idaho 26, Highway 75 is closed. up towards the Idaho-Montana border. Idaho 33 is closed at the Idaho-Wyoming border. I do know that it's Idaho Highway 21. That is closed due to avalanche danger. And then Highway 93 up as you get closer to the Montana border, that is also closed due to avalanche danger.
So
we've got four roads, within, and also I-84 on the Idaho-Oregon border. That is also closed. So if you're trying to get over to Oregon, that ain't happening.
Let me ask you, you do such a wonderful job on a comprehensive weather forecast every day for us. Okay, omnipotent overseer of the weather guru that you are, when are we going to get a doggone January thaw?
Well, let's see here. Today through Wednesday, we're looking at some very, very wet conditions, as you know, within the weather forecast.
Yeah.
Thursday, we are supposed to see some sunshine, but temperatures are going to be dropping into the teens Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Ooh.
So we're going to get this big thaw, and then we're going to get a big chill, and so we're looking at ice skating rink conditions as we go towards the weekend.
And I got to tell you, Fat Cowboy on crutches, you got to pick a soft spot to land, let me tell you.
Boy, howdy, you better be getting out your four-wheel drive and put on your studded boots there, babe.
Okay. Hey, Gina, thanks so much for coming back over. Appreciate it. I hate ice. I hate winter. I do. Hey, don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. And treat yourself. Just go right in this morning and enjoy one of the many, many, many delicious pancake breakfasts they have available, like the pumpkin cream pancake breakfast, 2 fluffy pancakes, pumpkin pancakes, layered and topped with pumpkin cream and eggs and hash browns and choice of bacon or sausage links. Oh, it's delicious. Always is, always will be at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And, of course, that is America's Diner. You stop in and see them today. Great, great food. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Worry alert, worry alert, worry alert. Hillary may try to run for mayor of New York City. We're not done with her yet. Oh, my goodness. Be prepared for a barrage of liberal gibberish from the media, and we'll see if she is going to take on Bill de Blasio to be the mayor of New York City. And this worry alert is now over, and I hope we don't have to come back with this one again in the future. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Remember Chuck Woolery? The game show host. I'm really a kind of a straight shooter, had a great sense of humor, great personality and everything, and a pitch man for many, many of the products that are on TV right now. Chuck Woolery, he's just a real straight shooting kind of a guy, and he's a conservative in Hollywood, which doesn't bode well for him or his future career. But he was talking about Hollywood actors over the weekend, and I'm going to go back to that story in a minute. But first and foremost, let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hey, Chief. Hey, Hoss. This is Chief. What's up, buddy?
Hello, Chief. How are you, buddy? Go ahead.
Oh, it's been a week. I bet imagine it's been a week for everybody in this area.
It has, and I urge everybody to go out with caution because, boy, I tell you, the ice and the slush, I've got to be so. It takes me a half an hour to get to the barn to go feed in the afternoon.
I know, and I had 4-foot drifts in my driveway, and then it snowed again yesterday and kind of filled it all in, so I had my outfit in 4-lock and went screaming up the driveway and to get in there, and then I got on the binders and about run into my utility trailer.
I tell you what, it's a caution for everyone, walking, driving, whatever. This is winter, as we have not seen for a long, long time. The one that comes to mind, Chief, that I remember is the winter of 92 and 93 that's comparable or whatever to this winter we're having right now.
Yeah, I guess Thursday night or Friday night, we broke the record for the coldest night that they've ever had on record. I don't know if that's official or anything, but it's sure been miserable here in Rupert.
Well, real quick, Chief, what else is going on in your part of the world? I've only got a couple of seconds here.
Oh, I just wanted to make sure you knew I was still listening. I'm out here. My wife ended up with pneumonia and over in ICU Friday night.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And here I've been married 43 years, and I was walking around in the waiting room while they were trying to tell me that they were going to unplug her, and I was just beside myself. I mean, one day she's out here visiting the grandkids and everything, and then the next day I'm about to lose her, you know.
Well, how's she doing?
She's better. She finally turned it around and got her oxygen back up and all that.
Well, that is a God's blessing, and I'm really...
that's a happy day.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear you. Would you do me a favor, and when you talk to her later on today, you tell her the very best from our program to her, okay?
Yes, and the same back at you, bud.
All right, Chief. Thanks for your call, buddy. You take care of yourself.
You too.
All right, thank you. Boy, I don't want to hear anybody being sick or going to the hospital, pneumonia, whatever. God's blessings to Chief's wife. I hope she's going to be all right. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Nick was on the program with us last week, the #1 physical therapist over there at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. But they're all great. Each and every person over there really knows their stuff in helping you get back to being you. Call for an appointment today, 678-1191. They're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehab. And don't forget, they've got that hydrotherapy pool. Oh, that is so great. And just all the exercises, everything. And you call them today, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for your call.
Good morning, Zeb.
Well, hello. How are you?
Well, I'm a little bit cool. How about yourself?
Are you down in Las Vegas right now?
No, I'm here in Burley, Idaho.
Oh, okay.
Once a month, Zeb, I have to come back for a shot in each eye.
I see.
For macular degeneration.
I see.
And this is the time, and I'm supposed to have it every 30 days, but the doctor told me 6 weeks was the maximum, or Medicare would no longer pay for it.
Oh, my.
I was right at 6 weeks, so I had to come home.
Well, it's good
One thing I want to say is, out of 550 miles, the worst road that I run across was at the top of the hill where that beat dump is on Highway 30.
Right.
Just before you come into Burley. Maybe 8 miles out, is the worst road of the whole trip.
Well, you haven't been over west of my place that looks like it is a bombed-out war zone. There are 5 to 6 miles there that if you're driving a small vehicle, I suggest you put a beacon light on top of the vehicle, because if it goes in the hole, they won't find you.
That's for sure. And I went past your house about 4 o'clock yesterday. I didn't honk because I didn't think you were still up.
Oh, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday, I was watching, cheering, and reveling in the fact that my Green Bay Packers were beating the New York Giants.
You know, I'm not a football fan, but I watched the last 3 or 4 minutes of that, and I'm tickled to death to see them play the nasty little Cowboys.
That is going to be an awful tough game. And see, in my household, Keith, we got a little problem because my son up in Nampa is a dyed-in-the-wool Cowboy fan, and I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Packer fan, and this next weekend is going to be really a trying situation between father and son.
I know what you mean. I have a friend, his name is Sonny Bowen. You know him real well.
Yep.
And he is a dyed-in-the-world Cowboy fan. There was a few years there that he had to go around with a paper sack over his head, just 2 holes to look out.
Well, we've all had that happen with our favorite teams. That's right. Well, listen, I've got to do a commercial break, but to you and Nancy, God's blessings. It's good to have you back up here for a couple of days. Thank you so much.
You bet.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you. Nice folks right there. Hey, by the way, Barry Equipment and Rental, and they're located at South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. You know, with all this snow and ugly bad weather and more ugly bad weather on the way, you better check out a Doosan loader for the dairies and the feedlots, and they've got some lightly used ones with just about $500 on them. Woo! Barry's will make you a great deal. They've got all the equipment rentals. They've got all the retail equipment sales, because it's true. They have the equipment for you to get the job done right. All you have to do is stop in. Like I said, 3 locations serving you: South Lincoln and Jerome, and Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, Eli and the crew, and then 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Really, really good folks that know all about the equipment. Barry Equipment and Rental. All right, time for another call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. You know, I was talking about Chuck Woolery a few moments ago. And he was on television this weekend, and he honestly was talking about the ditzy, absolutely out in la-la land Hollywood actors that are coming forward, and they're trying to diminish all the people that voted for Donald Trump, all the deplorables, if you will. And Woolery, like I've said on my program a couple of weeks ago, why? Why would these actors want to come out and just denounce all the people that voted for Trump, and why would they want to chase him away? Those are the same people that are going to go to the box office and potentially buy tickets to get in and see their movies. These Hollywood types are not the brightest people in the world. And one point that he brought up I thought that was really, really interesting and true is that these actors, like last night Meryl Streep and others at the Golden Globes, and then before that, of course, Sean Penn, all the list goes on and on. They've all come out and they spend most of their time pretending. They're in a job of pretending to be and act like someone else. And these folks do not understand reality. And for some, I've said this before, and you've heard me say it on this program, for some really strange reason that I can't comprehend, when they get to be actors and read a script written by somebody else, recite the lines under the coaching of a director on where to say this, where to stand, how to walk, what to do, and everything, like trained little robots. And all of a sudden, perhaps that movie becomes so great and they become a star. What makes and motivates them to have a increased IQ? They're no smarter just because they've learned the script and how to say the words with the prompter and everything else and what to do, where to go, where to stand. But they come on like they're elitists, that they're better than you and I. And it's very frustrating, and why do we even give them any credence whatsoever? And I really take my hat off, and I mean that, to Chuck Woolery for just being very candid about the weirdos in Hollywood that think they're just so much better than you and I. I've been in 6 major motion pictures. I've been an extra, and they've used my voice on quite a few things. I don't understand these people. I just don't understand these people. They are different. Hey, don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And, of course, the great doctor, Christine Pickup. You know, she is, with Mount Harrison Audiology, the only locally owned and independent hearing healthcare practice in southern Idaho. And I urge you to call for a hearing screening today and find out why you have a problem and then find out what you're missing. That's right. 312 0957. That's the number to call. They're right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Right now, I am going to give away a dozen delicious cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox. Yes, I am. And we really appreciate the great folks over at Sophie's. They've been so easy to work with. And Deanne, what do you want me to do? We are with this note, and they've got a new omelet. What's it called? Hangover omelet. Why would they name it a hangover omelet, I wonder? It's made with cheese and a sausage biscuit and gravy. I'm telling you, that sounds pretty doggone good. All of this going on at Sophie's Chatterbox, and that's right on the square in Rupert. And they've got an absolutely delicious bakery, great restaurant. Here's the question for today. It's an easy one today. In the movie Cat Ballou, who played Cat Ballou? Give me a call right now, please, at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And you might win a dozen delicious cookies. So hurry to the phone, dial the number. In the movie Cat Ballou, who played Cat Ballou? All right? Give me a call on that right away, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and win a dozen delicious cookies. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
That would have been Jane Fonda.
Who is this?
This is Lamont.
Say that name again real slow, the whole name, first and last.
Lamont.
And what's your last name?
Young.
Repeat that again, please.
Lamont Young.
Young. Okay, I've got it down. I didn't want to mess it up because I got to call over there and tell them you're the winner. Lamont, are you kind of a history buff with old Western movies? You came up with that really quick.
Movies.
What's that again?
I love those type of movies. Lee Marvin was real good in that movie.
All right. Who was the other very famous actor along with Jane Fonda and Lee Marvin in that movie? Very famous actor.
Let's see.
I'll give you a little clue. He started off on a TV series called Rawhide and went on to just be one of the icons in Hollywood.
Of course, you'd ask me something I don't know.
Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
All right, buddy. You're the winner. Call over there and let them know when you're going to come in and pick up your cookies. You're the winner, Lamont. Thanks. God bless you, man. Thanks. All righty. Yeah, that had quite a few stars in it. You know, Lee Marvin and Jane Fonda, which I have never learned to like that woman ever since the Vietnam era. And, of course, Clint Eastwood, etc. So, quite a movie. Cat Ballou. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk about Franklin Graham in just a moment. I really have a lot of respect for this man because he's got backbone, he's got nerve, and simply put, he's got guts. We're going to talk about him in just a minute. Calls are welcome. Give me a jingle. Minicash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. The number to call, Zach and the crew, 878-2091. And they sponsor Dr. History every Tuesday at 10:06 right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And they've got all your windows. You better upgrade those windows, man. That chill air's coming in. Woo! It was cold the last couple of weeks, wasn't it? They've got the Western windows, and they've got all your carpet and your luxury vinyl. They've got everything over there. Stop in. Give them a call. Minicash Sales. Zach and the crew at 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Hello, caller. You're on the air. Wheels, are they there? What happened?
I'm not sure. I put them through, but I'm going to make sure that they're still on the line.
Okay, you check that out. Waiting for that call to be verified, and old Wheels over there at our main studio. Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son, And, of course, I had the utmost respect for Billy Graham. I went to hear him speak one time years ago and just absolutely found it mesmerizing. And Franklin Graham had the guts to say the truth this past week. And he literally came right out and said, God, stop the liberals and the secularists in this past election. And I want to repeat those words. God stopped the liberals and the secularists in this past election. He stopped the absolute tidal wave of atheists and perverts and put, whoa, stop right in front of them, close the door. And we as conservative Bible-believing family folk did and hopefully will continue to stop evil and pull the plug on what's going on in this country. Amen. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Hollywood has become a propaganda industry. They're supporting the enemies of this country. They're making so darn much money, and they can't realize how much damage they're doing to this country and the president-elect, somebody that's got enough moxie about him to do something to straighten this country out before it falls flat on its face.
Yeah. My wife and I have not been to see any of the so-called big movies for a long, long time because many of these actors, like Sean Penn, Meryl Streep, etc., they may be in them, and I'm not going to give a ticket to someone that absolutely is so anti-American, the likes of Sean Penn, advocating all the dictators from Venezuela all the way to Castro and Cuba. I just have no use for these people because they are so un-American. Go ahead, Tony. I think we lost him. Sorry, my old friend Tony's not there anymore. Wheels, what's going on with our phone system this morning?
I have no idea. I don't know why it's cutting out. I think he was the one that called in the beginning and wasn't able to get through, but I'll see if he's back on the line, and if not, Tony, if you're listening, go ahead and call back in. All
right. Well, Wheels, thank you very much. Kind of frustrating. So maybe there's water in the line this morning, all the mush. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yeah, I was reading through the paper the last couple of days, and some of the absolute filth, and I mean this, filth that is going on in our society, and we'll take and talk more about that in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it's just me again, Zeb. I guess we have some kind of problems with all this weather. You recall that old song, it's Me and My Shadow? Well,
yes.
This weekend it's been me and my shadow and my snowblower.
I got to tell you something. And one day last week on Friday, my wife and I suffered a day where we just sat down and instead of crying, we started to laugh. Here's what happened in one day. My pickup stopped working. Her dryer stopped working, and my cell phone burned up, all in the span of 3 hours.
We can blame that on Meryl Streep.
I got to be honest with you that I made a vow that I would not say any curse words going into this 2017 year. I'm really going to try to clean up my act. I sat there in the chair. I felt like a balloon that had been overinflated. I was about ready to blow up. And then we started giggling about it because, holy smokes, how could all that go wrong in less than 2 hours?
I know it. I've been busy blocking all my vents up to keep water from getting down into the basement.
Yeah.
And, been moving so much snow. I don't know where to put it anymore.
Put it over in your neighbor's yard and then say, doggone, I don't know what happened. He's gone. Oh, not again.
He got cut out again.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Well, cell phones sometimes are not very good. I can speak on behalf of my own. Oh, by the way, Wheels, I wanted to apologize to you. Are you there?
I am, sir.
I understand that you tried to text me earlier this morning, but when you have a cell phone that is absolutely turned over on its back, stuck its arms and legs up in the air and died, I couldn't take it, and I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. I just tried texting you this morning to let you know that I was just going to be a few minutes later, and that the roads are pretty crazy out there, and I understood that you had tried calling me this weekend, but this weekend has been nuts trying to make sure that all the snow and everything was scraped out of my driveway.
Right.
And so when I finally called your guys' house phone this morning, Deanne let me know, and so I was just...
Yeah.
That sucks. I know how that is. I've been through quite a few phones.
Well, this one here, it's not the newest model. I think it was the first one that they ever come out with, and it burned up. But anyway, my apologies. Thanks, Wheels. I'm glad you were there right on the money. Thank you. Calls welcome 436-2244 1-866-927-4587. You got a little ding in your car. Somebody backed into it, or somebody maybe pushed a shopping cart. That is my number one complaint. We were at the grocery store the other day. I think it was Friday, or honey, was it Saturday? I think it was Saturday. And I'm sitting out in the parking lot, and I'm waiting for Deanne to come out with the groceries, and here comes a husband and wife out of the store with a full shopping cart, and they literally, across from me in the next lane, they literally pushed their shopping cart into the vehicle next to them to brace it from going away and rolling away. And then they unloaded their groceries. While they're unloading the groceries, the cart started to move, so the guy kicked the shopping cart into the other guy's car. And I'm sure it had to leave a dent or a scratch. Well, if you have nincompoops do this to your vehicle, I know where you should go. Snake River Auto Body and Paint at 404 4th Avenue West in Twin Falls. Absolutely. They are the best. They accept all insurances. They're located, like I said, at 404 4th Avenue West in Twin Falls. And call for an estimate and schedule for a repair. They are the best. Snake River Auto Body and Paint in Twin Falls. I couldn't believe it. I sat there and I thought, holy buckets, how rude and crude can you be to damage another vehicle because your shopping cart was rolling? Holy smokes. Calls welcome 436-2244 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to visit with you. Tonight, big night in college football. Yep, the college championship. And it's going to involve Alabama and Clemson. Now, there has been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of hype about this game. A lot of people in this country are sick and tired of the power and prestige of Alabama and Nick Saban as the coach. And a lot of people would like to see a change of the guard and a new college or university take over as being number one, at least for a while. I'm of that venue. I would like to see Clemson win that game tonight, and I don't see any reason why they can't. I think Alabama's got some loose bricks in the foundation, and I think they could win that game. So I'm going to go out on my limb here today, and I'm going to make a prediction that Clemson will win the national championship tonight over Alabama by 3 points. Caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Well, good morning, and congratulations, Zeb. Aaron Rodgers, you try to throw a football 65 yards in the air from where I think it was about 65 yards, because he was on like about the 45-yard line, and the guy caught the football on the Hail Mary at the back of the end zone. 65 yards. That's unbelievable, really.
Well, he's done it 3 times, Adrian.
He's a heck of a football player, and of course it takes a team, but he can scramble around and do a lot of things, and the Giants kind of self-destructed. They couldn't hang on to the football.
Absolutely.
But
yeah.
Anyway, but I agree with you on the Alabama thing. I mean, it's just they build up a dynasty there, and this goes back a long ways to the old Bear Bryant days as well, and they get they get so much money so they can. Well, I'm not sure they're not supposed to be paying players under the table, but I know they probably have a lot of scholarships, and they can get the best players in the nation to come there just because of their reputation, you know.
Well, I'm of the old school, Adrian. I really am. I would love to see a return of power and prosperity to schools like Texas and Oklahoma and USC and Florida and other big name schools, and bounce Alabama into second, third, or fourth place.
Well, and obviously now it's such a monopoly with Alabama in there almost every year. I mean, it's just incredible. I did want to make one other comment while I have an opportunity, and that's Meryl Streep. I mean, this gal, if you remember back in the late 80s, the Allard situation, and me working agriculture, many of my fruit grower friends were put out of business, and this whole thing was trumped up. Meryl Streep, Eddie Albert, the National Resources Defense Council, they had the 60-minute program on about the 1st of February. The next day they went on a tour of Eddie Albert because he was in Green Acres and Meryl Streep. But the whole thing was written up in the Wall Street Journal. It was a total fraud.
Yep.
Totally a hoax. It was based on but they picked on Allard because it was put on apples. And so kids eat apples, apple juice, apple sauce, and they got the national media behind them. But I refuse to go to any kind of Meryl Streep, and I agree with Trump's tweet that she's just a half-rate actress, but she just gets all the media, just like Hillary. You know, I mean, I would be glad to give her and Jane Fonda a one-way ticket to the communist country of their choice, because that's where that's their allegiance is to socialism and totalitarianism, and they live behind their gated communities in their $20,000 or 20,000 square feet houses.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to go out and support those kind of people. I refuse to do so.
Well, I appreciate your remarks, Adrian, because right after we hang up, I'm going to tell you, too, I agree with your remark about how it absolutely destroyed the Apple business for a time. But I've got to get a weather forecast.
Absolutely did, yeah. I mean, I worked for the company that produced Allard, so I lost my job over it.
Yeah. Well,
and EPA went right along with it. There was no scientific evidence. We tried to fight against it, but the media just was just like they are right now against Trump and have been all along. The song and dance of the environmental radical group prevailed, and like I said, it took a while for the Apple industry to come back. But Allard was not a poison. It wasn't doing all the things that it said, just like the DDT thing was a total hoax as well.
Got to run. I got to run.
That's what we have to put up with when you have a national media that wants to destroy the economy of this country.
I agree with you. Adrian, that's an excellent point. I got to get you back out here in the studio so we can do a live segment here. But God bless you. I got to get a weather in here. I'm really late. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you.
Hey, you too. Thanks
all right.
A lot. Bye now.
You know what he said about Allard and the apples? I want to say this really quick. I had a very good friend that was a former bull rider in the Professional Rodeo Cowboys Association, and he and his family owned a big apple orchard up in Washington, and it was their main source of income. And this absolute ridiculous asinine Allard scare put them completely out of business. And of course, Meryl Streep was involved as kind of the pitchman spokesperson for that, and they absolutely devastated their family, and they lost everything. And I'm very bitter about Hollywood so-called actors and actresses that call themselves elitists. They are dumber than a fence post. Now time for the weather, brought to you by the Urgent Care's Kyle James and his great staff of folks at Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin, and Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. I'm telling you, and it's still time to get your flu shots. Don't forget that, because flu season with all this mush and everything else is going to be here for a while, and whatever you need, whether it's coughs, treated fevers, sinus infections, lacerations, go to the Urgent Cares. They can and will help you. Here now is Gina with the weather.
your weather forecast for this very wet Monday, January 9th, and we are expecting heavy amounts of precipitation between now and Wednesday, so that is going to create some possible flooding conditions, so especially in the low-lying areas, and expect local creeks to reach flood stage. We are looking at rain and snow showers for today. Winds out of the southwest right around 17 miles an hour. High of 39 tonight, low of 26. That's going to create some very slick driving conditions out there for tonight. Tomorrow, snow showers are in the forecast for the higher elevations, possible rain showers for the lower elevations. Winds will continue out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Temperature's not going to be moving much for tomorrow. High of 36, overnight low of 35. Wednesday, again, more rain and snow showers in the forecast, about a 60% shot at that. Winds out of the west right around 16 miles an hour. High of 37, overnight low of 13. We're going to get a couple of days of reprieve as we get on into the weekend. Extended forecast Thursday, mostly sunny skies. High of 25, overnight low of 7. Then partly cloudy and 18 for Friday. So that means that everything's going to be icing up again. Please be careful out there today. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, a great job, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Twin Falls Urgent Care, Twin Falls, Jerome Urgent Care over in Jerome. Minor emergencies, well, major care. They will take care of you at the Urgent Cares. That's right. All right, I got time for another call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Terrible shooting at Fort Lauderdale Airport this past weekend. Absolutely devastating and so worrisome as to how and why this had to happen. A despicable shooter, very influenced, so goes some of the reports, by Islamic ISIS tapes. So horrific for innocent people standing by a baggage claim, and this absolute vermin walks out and starts shooting people. And it was pathetic. And then another truck attack in Jerusalem, Israel, just like what happened with those truck attacks in Europe. Get a great big heavy truck, and again, influenced by ISIS. Palestinian gets behind the wheel. And I saw the video of this. And it is absolutely gruesome. Cranks that truck up to 40, 50 miles an hour and literally runs over a group of soldiers, Israeli soldiers, killing 4, injuring many. The world is absolutely sick. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, I just had to make a quick comment. You got 3 5-letter words. You put them together, and you got a radical like that guy in Fort Lauderdale. You take Islam, Allah, and the Quran. You put those 3 together, and you got a recipe for the continued disaster of killing and hatred of anyone that's not an Islamic Muslim.
I agree.
And, we just got to wake up to that fact. And people that are so naive, and I got friends that are just saying, well, these are really great people, and they have it was our country, it was our president that brought about the refugee crisis in the first place. You know that.
Yeah.
And, of course, we've got these people, instead of trying to give them some safe zones over there, why are they bringing them over here? And why is Dubai and in Saudi Arabia, they're not taking any refugees?
Yeah.
Because the plan is, of course, is to destroy this country just like they are in Europe.
It's got to be curtailed, and I'm going to be an advocate for stopping any way I can on the air. I want to stop the refugees coming in from those parts of the world into this area. Adrian, if you look at your watch, you'll see I got to run, but your point was well taken with me. Absolute terrible involvement with their ideology. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Got to run. Thanks.
Well,
thank you.
We've got to keep fighting, because hopefully Trump will put a stop to bringing in Muslims all Muslims until we can find out who's here.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Vetting process is like Swiss cheese, and that's straight from some of the people involved. Want to remind you about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And now with this slush, mush, ice, snow, you need Traction Tires. They've got the best of the snow and ice tires at all 7 locations. They've got all the winter snow chains for your tires. They've got the best in batteries. Don't try to get out there in the cold with that battery that's whoop, 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 just about ready to croak. You check out all the great batteries, front end alignment, shocks and struts, the very best of everything, including service. Stop in and see them today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and the old Seahawk fan Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run. The news is next. Wheel's going to play some music. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Don't go away. Oh, look out there. Mush, slush, ice, snow. Yuck! It's really rotten out there. And the weather forecast not really conducive to letting us know that it's going to go away anytime soon. But, like I said, walk and drive carefully, please. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And then, of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, during the Christmas holidays and New Year's, the Western Waste was putting on a really interesting message that, you know, maybe do a favor for somebody else. Do a favor for your mom and dad or your aunts and uncles or somebody else in your family and buy them a gift certificate from Western Waste, and Western Waste will pick up their garbage for maybe a month, 6 months, a year, whatever. That would be a neat, neat gift, and that is the gift that keeps on giving. Absolutely. Call them today at 734-6969. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, absolutely the best. Talking about the best, I've also got to include these folks. They are so nice and so congenial and so doggone good at what they do, and that's Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Number to call, 678-1177. And their tagline, they have warm hearts for cold noses. Yes, they do. It's a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small, they love them all, they take care of them all. So please, Dr. Liz, Dr. Bill, the whole crew over there, excellent, serving you and your animals at Ark Animal Hospital. Number again, 678-1177. We haven't had this gentleman on, well, it's been almost a month, I think, and I'm looking forward to having him back for his viewpoints. Very, very interesting, man. Steve Beeman, good morning, sir. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb. How are you? And Happy New Year to you and all those wonderful folks out in Idaho.
You are extended the same, my friend. You know, Steve, I don't think I've been fair to you on the last time you were on the program. I didn't give you a chance really to amplify to everybody Steve Beeman, what he does, what he represents. Before we get into the subject matter, go ahead, kind of pat yourself on the back a little bit.
Well, I'll toot my own horn here. I grew up on Wall Street. I spent 30 years in financial services. I built and sold a very successful equity research company named Chicago Investment Analytics. So that provided the capital I needed at a very young age to retire. I then set about doing some private equity things, and with the collapse of 2008, realized that maybe in my midlife it was time to give back a little bit. So I established the Society to Advance Financial Education. And, Zeb, I spend my time now both promoting, preaching, and teaching financial literacy and education everywhere I can.
All right, now, Steve, here's a very simplified question, and I know you've got a long answer, but give me the abbreviated form. With Donald Trump now the president-elect, as compared to what we've seen and had done to us with Obama for the last 8 years, what are your projections for the economy with Donald Trump?
Cautiously optimistic that we can get from that 2% growth rate we've had the last 8 years up to 3.5%, 4% growth rates. That raises money to the government. It helps our deficit problem and our debt problem. It begins to reestablish employment practice in this country that will cause jobs to be created. So net, as I say, I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll see a resurging economy here.
Okay, but now with Obama leaving in just a matter of 9 days, what about the fact that he left us with an increase of $10 trillion more in debt? I mean, $20 trillion in debt. What can, if anything, Trump do to try to bring that debt down?
Well, the first order of business, as you well know, is to stop the bleeding. So let's get our deficits under control. We're right now at about $600 billion a year of additional debt being piled onto that $20 trillion. We've got to get that under control through a smart system of tax reduction, regulatory relief, and spending cuts on the part of the government, which I think he's going to do. Once we get that done, the way to get out of that problem is to grow the economy. If we add 4 or 5% a year every year to our economy, that means we're getting bigger by about $1 trillion a year. Over a long period of time, you'll whittle that debt down. But in order to get there, we've got to get things going now. We're almost to a point of no return.
You know, Steve, I'm glad you brought that up, because how do you increase the amount of exports? How do you increase the amount of sales? How do you do this in a very stagnated and going down in the basement economy? I don't understand this.
Well, we realize first and foremost that a rising tide lifts all boats. So in order to get our economy built, we have to build the global economy. And that means we need, as the United States, to be at the forefront of leading economic freedom and liberty around the world. If you go into the African marketplaces, there's an awful lot of folks there that need to come up to middle-class standard. If we go to South Asia, we have it. In the Middle East, we have it. And the way to get them there is through free markets. And if we can get that going, that will give us the export base for us to grow our economy. I just think it's importantly critical that we once again believe in freedom and liberty in this country, and we espouse that to the rest of the world.
I totally agree with you. Now, getting to the subject matter at hand, Donald Trump has basically stuck his chin out, combed his hair, and said to the automakers and others, no, if you want to go overseas and build your product, you're going to see a pretty hefty tax when you try to come back into the borders of the United States. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, several. First of all, and this is going to sound funny, but it's a lot of bluster. We are currently under law that is called NAFTA, and companies that are importing goods into the U.S. from Mexico and Canada have very special NAFTA protections against tariffs. But I think what he's doing, more than anything, is saying to companies, listen, rethink. If you're going out of this country because we're a poor environment for business, I'm going to fix that. Give me a chance. Don't do anything today. Wait and see what I get done, and then make a decision. And I think so. It's a heavy negotiating tactic. It's right out of his book, Art of the Deal. And I do think he's had some success with it. I mean, the Ford Motor cancellation of its Mexican plant and reinvestment into Michigan wasn't specifically because of their fear of that, but it was in part because of their optimism about regulatory and tax relief.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm not even quite sure how to phrase this question, Steve, but bear with me on this. Does a president, not necessarily Donald Trump or anyone else, but does a president really kind of step out of bounds on the basketball court and start really meddling in business? I mean, that's kind of a gray area, isn't it?
Well, it depends to what end. If they're going in to promote for special businesses, in other words, they pick the winners, yeah, I think that's highly dangerous. If they go in across the board, though, and say, we're just going to build a more opportunistic environment through tax cuts and regulatory relief, that benefits all business. And I'm hoping that Trump goes there. Again, we go back to the 1920s. People disparaged Calvin Coolidge when he said the business of America is business. But the fact is, from 1920 to 28, we had a really terrific economy. We wouldn't have had the Depression had it not been for the Federal Reserve. So I think if Trump really goes out and says, let's set the playing field such that companies are empowered to build here, I think that net will be a positive for everybody.
What about the car companies, whether it's Toyota, whether it's Ford, GMC, or the air conditioning company Carrier, going right up to Boeing and Lockheed and everything? Is what Trump is doing, even prior to going into the Oval Office, is that good or is it bad?
I think it's neither good nor bad. It's just an event. How it turns out will determine whether it's good or bad. If we look, for example, at the Carrier thing, what he basically did is he said, look, we're going to use Indiana development funds to keep you here. Now, clearly, that's stimulative in the Indianapolis area. I think, as he goes down that path of let's incent companies to stay here, that's going to be one dimension. The second, you bring up Boeing, I think is a very interesting thing. He was criticizing their $4 billion contract to build the new Air Force One. There's an awful lot of embedded Washington that is built based on picking winners and losers among corporate enterprises that do government contracts. It's going to be very interesting to see how Trump handles Lockheed Martin, Boeing aircraft, these big defense contractors, or, Archer Daniels Midland, the companies that handle the food stamp type programs. All of these big corporate interests are going to come to bear, and it's going to be fascinating to see if he's successful in restructuring that.
And here's something else, Steve, that you know so much more than I do about this. But with all of his holdings, and I use that word to encompass the Trump empire around the world, isn't he or won't he basically end up stepping on his own toes with his own holdings working with some of these other major corporations?
Well, I don't know specifics about what he holds. I know, generally speaking, he's in the real estate industry. If you look at what he's trying to do around the world with, again, this notion of the rising tide lifting all boats, that will benefit his real estate holdings. But it won't benefit them selectively. It will benefit all people who own those types of properties. So I'm not as big a worrier about these conflicts of interest that he seems to have. I certainly think they could turn into that, but prima facie, they don't have to be conflicts. I think it's going to have to be, we're going to have to look at how he applies the regulations that he controls. And if we see him doing things that favor one thing or another, I think we all are going to scream really, really loud.
When you look at what's happened over the last 8 years with Obama, and in fairness, even prior to that, through the Bush administration, into the Clintons, etc., with the mortgage crisis and everything else, and the cash for clunkers and everything, we have got involved in some really stupid economic policies, haven't we?
Well, we have for a long, long time. I mean, we've had since the 40s this Keynesian mindset that if you have a slowing economy, the government spends money. If you have a heated-up economy, the government pares back the money. The naivete of that, of course, is the government never pares back, number one. So, I mean, you look at kind of how we've structured our government-business relationship since the 40s, and it's very unhealthy. If we go back even to the we had the Teapot Dome scandal in New York, right? Throughout the history of the American experience, whenever business gets in bed with government, it ends up being a problem. We've just seen more of it lately because government wants to stick its hands in everybody's business. And as they do that more and more, there's more and more incentive for companies to go in there and say, hey, we want a piece of your pie.
Yeah, but therein lies the problem. What you just said almost sounds like an oxymoron. When business gets in bed with government, well, aren't we looking at that problem with Donald Trump being a businessman, now president of the United States? I mean, I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here a little bit.
And please do, because I think these are complicated things. Here's my point on Trump as a businessman in that job. If he sets regulatory situations that are beneficial to specific enterprises, we ought to take him out for the cleaners. But just because his background is in business does not mean he will inherently bring that kind of crony capitalistic mindset to Washington. The Trump enterprises did some work with governments, clearly, but he's been open to admit, hey, I played by the laws that existed. We don't like those laws, let's change them. Let's see if he moves in a direction of doing that and trying to drain the swamp. If he just goes in bed with business on this thing and starts to hand out government money and tax money, I think all of us need to really go to pitchforks. I mean, that would just be the end of the game.
When you talked about NAFTA a few moments ago, Steve, it leads me to the fear that I've had over this new trade agreement that everybody has been pushing for on the left and even some on the Republican side of the aisle. All of these trade agreements, I've read them, and they're the most boring things in the world, but I've read them, but I don't see where it puts America first. And quite frankly, if somebody's offended by that, I don't care. I think we've got to take care of our U.S. businesses and people and jobs first. Am I wrong?
No, I think you bring up a very interesting point, and most people don't think of it this way, but when we came out of World War II, the United States was the sole economic superpower in the world, bar none. What we did, very simply, is we took our economic power and attempted then to build wealth around the world by transferring wealth from the United States to other countries. We became very good at that. Well, now we have a situation where we're the ones with the $20 trillion in debt, the $600 billion deficits, the $100 trillion of unfunded liabilities. We are the ones who need to start recapturing our own wealth. And I think that thematically needs to go through every trade agreement we have.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question for you, Steve Beeman. Stand by. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air, please.
Yeah, it's Earl Worthen. I might be completely out of my mind here, which is normal, but the facts that I was raised with during the early 50s and what this fellow's talking about is we are fueling other nations with resources that turned around and put us into the position we were in World War II, where we fueled other nations and it turned around and was shot back at us.
You know, Earl, that's a very good point. I'm going to have Steve address that. Thank you. God bless you for your call.
I appreciate it.
All right, sir. Thank you. You know, Steve, he brings up a good point. I think a lot of Americans have thought about this. Why are we so quick to build up to the point where they're not only major competitors, but they're taking over a lot of our markets? Why are we so quick to help others? And then our farmers, ranchers, and our businesses, our machinists, etc., they're home unemployed.
We always forget the unintended consequences, right? After World War II, there was very little question that the Marshall Plan and the other programs that rebuilt Europe had to be put into place. So we took our money, we put it into Europe, we let them build brand new factories. We did the same thing rebuilding Japan, so that by the 60s and 70s, Japan had all brand new infrastructure where the U.S. was sitting on legacy infrastructure from a pre-World War II period. Yes, we built those other economies, but in many ways we did build them up to be competitors with ours. We've had the freest economy in the world, and so we've been able to sustain leadership. But, Zeb, I'll tell you, that's changed. In 2002, if you rate countries around the world on economic freedom, the United States was number 3. We were behind Singapore and Hong Kong. Today, we are number 13. We're behind Canada. And that kind of non-freedom in business and industry is what's going to cause the U.S. standard of living to continue to decline.
Okay, and the other thing I want to mention, and I think this all ties in, is that we just cannot have an open immigration policy, whether legal or illegal, because quite frankly, I know communities that are up to their boiling point of trying to pay for these people. They don't have the jobs. We're looking at more people going on welfare. I hope that Trump addresses these problems and makes common sense issues out of these, because right now under the Obama administration, it's running rampant.
This is a purely economic question to me. I can get into the social aspects of it too, but let's talk about the economic consequences. We cannot support, with a 300 million person economy, an additional 10, 20, 30 million people coming in like that.
Right.
They don't speak English oftentimes. They drain resources in the school system. They drain resources in the social welfare systems. And I'm not being critical. I understand why they want to come here. But with that said, it's a little bit, let me think of a good analogy here. I once knew a businessman who ran a plant, and he had 160 employees. And he, at Christmas time, had to let 40 of them go. Well, everybody screamed and said, how could you be so cruel? And he said, well, as a result of letting those 40 people go, 120 people kept their jobs. And I kind of think in America today we have to look at it a bit. Yes, we want people coming in. We want good, solid, good immigration. But right now, we've got to save our own ship. If we keep throwing people into here, the lifeboats aren't big enough.
That's right. One final thought, and you of all people are very well versed in giving me a direct answer on this. You know as well as I do, there's going to be a lot of cry hither and yon about the so-called entitlement programs. What I would just want to base this last question on Social Security. How in the world is the Trump administration going to address Social Security to make it palatable to all Americans?
Well, the good news, Zeb, is Social Security is not in that bad a shape. The reality is there is a $2 or $3 trillion savings account, so to speak, in this trust. What we need to do on Social Security, and we need it now, is to extend the retirement age for people under 50 and extend another level for people just entering the workforce. Let's be realistic. It's an insurance program put in for old age when old age was 60 years old. It wasn't designed to provide for you for 30 years out of the workforce. We need to be conscious of that. We're going now, when it started, there were 30-something employees for every retiree. Now there are 3. The math won't work unless we make some adaptations to the new world.
Do you ever sit down with people that are perhaps past 65, maybe 68, 69, 70, etc., still very active, still in their business, still very much in good health? What do you tell these people as far as a working until kind of a shop until you drop atmosphere?
Well, I say first, retirement as we think of it is a 20th century blip in history. You know, up until that point, if you retired, you were considered to be extraordinarily wealthy. The fact is, people need to be productive as long as they can. It gives them purpose. They feel good about it. But to those people, their Social Security is safe. They're not going to see anybody touch it. It's more to people, and again, as I say, 50 and under. We've got to take you from 67 up to 72. For people just entering, we probably ought to look at 75 before they get benefits because they've got at least that much productive life.
Final thought here, Steve, and I really absolutely appreciate your opinion, but we've got a generation, the millennials, that don't seem to want to get a job. They don't care if they work. They don't want to be contributing members to our society, etc. What would your message be to them as far as an economist for their future, which doesn't look very bright to me?
First, we have to accept that economies and economics sometimes breaches into philosophy, and I would say I'm sorry for them because their parents failed them. They raised them in an environment of entitlement. They raised them in an environment of mediocrity. They raised them in an environment of the new drug, which is social media, which is every bit as dangerous as alcohol. These kids are coming into the world wholly unprepared to deal with the real world, and it's going to fall on the employers to empower those kids. I would say first and foremost to the millennials, listen, there is opportunity. You can make it happen, but you have to educate yourself. I would ask them to join the society. It's a $10 a month membership, and they can get all the financial knowledge they need. I believe they are a capable group, but we've got to redirect how they're headed because, again, their parents failed them.
I tell you what, Steve, every time you're on, I learn something. The chairman of the Society to Advance Financial Education, Steve Beeman, God bless you, man. Come back soon. Happy New Year to you.
I am all yours, Zeb. Blessings to you, and keep the march on because we need to educate and empower all people.
I appreciate it, my friend. Steve Beeman, welcome to Asset to this program. I appreciate him. Thank you very, very much. Oh, my goodness, we're going to have a couple of good words, and then our next guest with the Alliance Defending Freedom, so stay tuned for that. Hanson Mortuary, hello, Joel Heward, his staff, and his family, and I just absolutely appreciate my sponsors and my advertisers. I really do. Hanson Mortuary, been on this program since almost the very beginning of the show, and they're located at 710 6th Street in Rupert, and believe me, when there's the passing of a loved one, they are there. They're ready to serve you and help you with all the arrangements with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please, write the number down, give them a call, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Joel Heward, staff, family, all serving you at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Really nice people. You know, I got to tell you something else that happened the other day, and you can go in and ask them about this. Feel free to do so. because I was absolutely stunned with the great amount of service from Nick over at Let's Ride. When this snow started falling the other day, I had made thoughts and plans to maybe get a plow for my four-wheeler, and, I kind of put it off on the back burner, not thinking I need it. Well, not only did they come over to get my four-wheeler, but they brought another one with the plow and helped me plow out so I could at least get to my feedlot and at least get around here. I cannot thank them enough. Absolutely wonderful people at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. That's not a commercial right there. That is my sincere thank you. And I really appreciate their service. Excellent service. They've got also all the accessories. They've got a fantastic service department. They've got all your new snowmobiles. I mean, it's all there. It's all there. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 5. And believe me, I am one of their loyal followers. Great people at Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. I tell you, really nice people over there. In a moment, we're going to have our guest on, but I want to remind you, too, about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Hello, Todd. Got to call him later on this morning. Can't forget. Highway 24 in Rupert. My goodness, the number to call, 436-4424. And believe me again, they will take care of you, helping you with your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. Very responsive to your needs and very caring. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. That number to call again for an appointment. Do it today, 436-4424. Let's go to the phone line right now, and a gentleman that's been on our program quite a few times in the past, attorney Steve Aden with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Good morning, Stephen Aden. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm well. How are you?
Well, I tell you what, every time I have you or another attorney with the Alliance Defending Freedom on the program, I learn a lot. And I understand you have some updated information regarding a congressional report that exposes Planned Parenthood's continued taxpayer abuse. What's going on here?
So, Zeb, last week, the House Select Committee on Infant Lives, it's called, released its final report on abortion in America. And it's a very telling and disturbing report. Top of the line, they recommended prosecution by criminal or regulatory agencies against Planned Parenthood, other abortion providers in 15 different cases. Between that report and another report separately that the Senate made through Charles Grassley of Iowa's office. And they recommended once again that Planned Parenthood be defunded of taxpayer dollars. It doesn't deserve it, doesn't need our taxpayer dollars. It calls for the complete defunding of Planned Parenthood and abortion providers in America. So it's a very signal report. It's a historic report. They spent a year working on researching, understanding how abortion is done, how it funds the sale of baby body parts, how they try to evade federal and state statutes on this, and just generally that they're sleazy in so many ways, including that they misrepresent, they lie to women about the true nature of what abortion is and does. So it's a very important report, and our press release, our efforts to get the word out, really highlight how, once again, a congressional body has called for the defunding of Planned Parenthood, and it really ought to be done.
Stephen, I got to sit here and I've got to think about the different issues that people like yourself are on my program talking about, and I've got to come up with questions and everything else. But the number one question I've got, if the roles were reversed, and this were a Christian business doing this with taxpayer money, why, the liberals and the secularists, they would be coming out of the woodwork to shut this down. It's terrible what's happening. One side kind of catches all, and they're still finding the legality to stay in business.
The best example of what you're talking about is the fact that in some states,
public revenues, like for Choose Life license plates, go to pregnancy resource centers, which affirm life-giving options for pregnancy. And the liberals always squawk and yell about that. In some places, they filed lawsuits to stop it. So, yes, you're right. It is double standards. Like you say, if they didn't have double standards, they'd have none at all.
Stephen, what about the Congress? What about our senators? What about our congressmen, our House of Representatives? Where is the backbone? These are people that are fathers and they're grandfathers and they've got families and they have daughters. Where is the backbone to stand up to Planned Parenthood?
Well, I'm happy to say that in the House of Representatives, the backbone is there and has been there. They've got before them in this new Congress another bill to defund Planned Parenthood. Originally, it was named after our incoming Vice President, Mike Pence. It's called the Pence Amendment. Hopefully, they will vote on that in the next 2 weeks and once again defund Planned Parenthood of all taxpayer dollars. The big question is in the Senate. Will the Senate have the will to do the right thing? We sure hope so. And your callers who care about this issue should really light up the switchboards and let their senators know that this is an important issue and that no taxpayer funding should continue to go to America's largest abortion provider, which does fully one-third of all the abortions in America every year, 300,000 plus lives lost at Planned Parenthood facilities. I won't call them clinics. This issue is critical, and it's happening right now. This is a chance to get in the budget resolution as well as in a standalone bill, the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act, the defunding of Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry, and so the time to act is now.
Stephen, when you talk about money and Planned Parenthood being audited and looked at for all the waste and the misuse of the money and abuse of the money, etc., we're talking millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, and yet these people will get on television and they'll say they're so necessary and that the general public in America is being lied to by the media, etc., i.e. me and you, etc. How do they get away with this, and why aren't our voices being heard as to the truth against Planned Parenthood?
Well, the truth about life in the womb, fortunately, is getting out more and more thanks to technology, thanks to ultrasound. Folks understand that this being in the womb has fingers, toes, a beating heart, just like you and I, and should be protected in life and in law. The media tries to hide that fact, but it is still getting out. The important thing is to tell the truth. For example, with respect to Planned Parenthood, you're talking about a billion-dollar corporation that claims to be nonprofit and yet has enough money to spend $30 million last year on the election, unsuccessfully, thank the Lord. But the point is that they're throwing money around. And you know where that money comes from. A lot of it comes from hard-working Americans like you and me. It's time for that to stop. They don't need money as if they ever did. They can get by and do whatever they want to do on their own funding. There's no need to violate the conscience of taxpayers so that they're subsidizing abortion by giving public funds to America's largest abortion provider. It's time to stop. The House Select Committee points to that. We just issued a new report called Profit No Matter What. This is a takeoff on Planned Parenthood's slogan. And it details that there are dozens and dozens, over 50 public audits of Planned Parenthood affiliates alone that show probable fraud, waste, and abuse of taxpayer dollars by Planned Parenthood affiliates. It's all in one place. It's on our website, adflegal.org. It's the Profit No Matter What report on Planned Parenthood. All their financial shenanigans in one place.
You know, let me ask you this question. Of course, you and I are part of the media, as it is, and yet we're trying to tell the truth. We're trying to tell about the toxic situation with Planned Parenthood, etc. But the media in general is absolutely in the tank for Planned Parenthood. How are you, as Alliance Defending Freedom and many others, how are we going to overcome that?
The media you're speaking of is Main Street media, or the mainline media, which is, I think, becoming more and more irrelevant, less relevant all the time with social media, with websites, with talk radio. The way to get it out is just to reach people where they are through alternative media, and that's what we're trying to do at Alliance Defending Freedom. Many of our partners are doing, and the message is getting out, I'm happy to say. If you look at the abortion rate in America, well, it's dropping like a rock and has been for about 20 years. No matter how many millions the Obama administration tries to pour into abortion and into Planned Parenthood, this is Cecile Richards being Barack Obama's great buddy, no matter how much support they get from the media, abortion is more and more unpopular in America. What they've made legal through Roe versus Wade, they can't make popular. Abortion is still a dirty word, and it ought to be. And we hope that as more and more people understand the truth about abortion, more and more people will support not just defunding Planned Parenthood, but ending the practice of abortion in America. We look forward to seeing who the incoming president, President Trump, nominates for the Supreme Court. We hope and expect it will be somebody in the mold of the late Justice Antonin Scalia, who cared about the Constitution, who cared about unborn life, and that any future picks this new president has also will care about life and the Constitution. If we can see that happen, then I think we can see Roe versus Wade overturned, and the conversation will be very different in 4 years. We hope and pray that will be the case.
With the conversations and the different speeches and, of course, the campaigning, et cetera, with Donald Trump, and most Americans were absolutely shocked and surprised that he would be the last man standing after 17 others were standing at the podium representing the GOP, and now he is the President of the United States. What really do we know about Trump's stance versus Obama's? I knew a long time ago when Obama was a state senator in Illinois, his feelings of being pro for partial birth, abortion, etc. What about Donald Trump?
Personnel is policy. If you look at the top picks for his cabinet, many of them, if not most of them, are pro-life, especially, for example, the nominee for Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, ardently pro-life. The nominee for Health and Human Services, Representative Tom Price, pro-lifer who has made his career fighting Obamacare because it funds abortion. I think that on Inauguration Day, you're going to see this administration do a lot by executive order in the way of pro-life policy. And you're going to see this administration work with the Congress, the pro-lifers in Congress, to pass a budget resolution and good, sound legislation that is pro-life. With you, I think that we ought to keep the new president's feet to the fire. We ought to keep him focused, but we hope and pray that he will have a pro-life presidency. I think we have every reason to believe that he will, based on who he selected for his top posts.
Well, I certainly appreciate the Alliance Defending Freedom and you, Stephen Aden, and all the folks back there. And please tell my audience how they can follow this story and all the stories with the ADF.
Well, thank you, Zeb. We're at www.adflegal.org, adflegal.org. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you. Stephen Aden with the Alliance Defending Freedom. And I absolutely appreciate them coming on every week on this program at, of course, 9:30. Thank you very much. Holy cow, what's it doing outside, Deanne? Kind of mild temperatures and a lot of slush and mush? Yeah, I guess. Hey, it's time for the weather. We'll find out more because Gina's got our weather for us. And the weather brought to you by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company. Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oaks, Mitch Goodwin, Lyden Crane. Good guys. Really good people. Providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, bookkeeping services. Please remember to give them a call and make a meeting time with Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company CPAs. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's your weather forecast for this very wet Monday, January 9th, and we are expecting Heavy amounts of precipitation between now and Wednesday, so that is going to create some possible flooding conditions, so especially in the low-lying areas, and expect local creeks to reach flood stage. We are looking at rain and snow showers for today. Winds out of the southwest right around 17 miles an hour. High of 39 tonight, low of 26. That's going to create some very slick driving conditions out there for tonight. Tomorrow, snow showers are in the forecast for the higher elevations, possible rain showers for the lower elevations. Winds will continue out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Temperature's not going to be moving much for tomorrow. High of 36, overnight low of 35. Wednesday, again, more rain and snow showers in the forecast, about a 60% shot at that. Winds out of the west right around 16 miles an hour. High of 37, overnight low of 13. We're going to get a couple of days of reprieve as we get on into the weekend. Extended forecast Thursday, mostly sunny skies. High of 25, overnight low of 7. Then partly cloudy and 18 for Friday. So that means that everything's going to be icing up again. Please be careful out there today. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow. Does she do a comprehensive weather forecast or not? She does a great job. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. Brought to everybody by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company, CPAs. Don't forget year-end tax planning, especially with the 1099s that need to be sent out before this end of January, and check with them at Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin and Company, 2 locations, 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley or 625th Street in Rupert. There you go, our weather forecast. Now it is your turn, your time. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you that I read this letter that was in the newspaper the other day, and I didn't know whether to laugh or kind of get a concerned furrow in my brow to think that the guy that was writing this letter, a Barry Barton from Twin Falls, could be that dumb. I mean, this letter was all about, and I'm giving a synopsis, his getting arrested for drunken driving, but it is the state of Idaho's fault. And I read this, and I honestly, I don't know whether it was meant to be tongue-in-cheek, and he was blaming the fact that bars are now open on election night. So he didn't assume any personal responsibility, but he blamed the state of Idaho for changing the laws to where you could go to a bar on election night. And I thought, are you kidding me? He said, I'm quoting now, I had not voted in the last 6 elections, 2, because of a felony relating to a marital misunderstanding, 3, because of the same old promises and rhetoric. And then he says, I had 1 beer and then another. It got down to the last card, Idaho versus Nevada. I have no idea what he's talking about there. At that point, the manager folded the deck and cut me off, but he didn't offer me a cab, which I would have gratefully accepted. There again, personal responsibility. So in the words of one candidate, you're fired. I wish I knew which counties voted to repeal the first original law. Maybe I can cross-examine my accuser, the state of Idaho. Holy smokes, now we've got people that are drinkers to the point of excess, now turning around and not assuming their own personal responsibility and blaming the state of Idaho or the legislators. Oh, come on, please. I hope that this was just nothing but a tongue-in-cheek letter and not serious, because I don't think anybody... Personal responsibility is dead. Nobody wants to take personal responsibility or fess up for their own actions anymore. And here's a guy that wants to blame the state because he got drunk and got arrested, which he should have been, for drunken driving, but it's somebody else's fault. Ay, ay, ay. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd love to visit with you about any subject matter this morning. So give me a jingle on the landline. And, oh, by the way, I mentioned that story the other day. Come on, quickly, give me a call. Hurry, I've got plenty of time left. I'd love to visit with you. It was kind of interesting. Nick at Let's Ride sent over 2 young men to bring over or come and get my 4-wheeler. and they brought another four-wheeler with a plow on it. And these two guys, really nice guys. One of them, his name was Zeb, and I understand he's a member of the Toll family over in Eden. Zeb Toll. Had a chance to meet with him. It's the first time I've ever said, "Hi, Zeb. Hi, Zeb. How are you, Zeb?" "I'm fine, Zeb." But anyway, it was a great conversation. Thank you very much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again.
Yes, sir.
You know, I'd like to talk about Social Security.
Okay.
Now, the illustrious government has given us, what is it, 0.3% increase in our Social Security?
Yeah, and I'm going to warn you right now, don't you and Nancy spend all of that in one place.
No, but what bothers me is they give us a raise, and then they raise the Medicare. And so I'm going to get the same amount. I guess I should be grateful that they didn't take it away.
You know,
my problem is, what about those folks who are on Medicaid?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for them. There's no question about that. But they didn't increase theirs or anything. We're just useless old people, I guess.
You know, there's a lot of people, and I caution you to say that about yourself, because I don't even want you to say that tongue-in-cheek, because nobody, because of their age, is useless or worthless. I don't buy into that. I certainly do not buy into a society of younger generations saying, "Oh, get out of the way, old man, get out of the way, just go die." I have contributed a lot to this society. I've worked hard, and I deserve that respect, as do you and every other person of an elderly age. And I don't like the fact that society is trying to just cast us off.
I don't either. But I don't know what else you can do about it.
Fight back. I'm not going to take it lightly. I'm going to continue to work, Keith.
All I can do.
Well, yeah, I know, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to remain a thorn in the system. I'm going to remain a thorn to the younger generation. I'm going to remain a thorn to those that want us to just shut up and go away with our old, what they say, antiquated values, the rights and the wrongs, and the blacks and the whites. I want to just absolutely be a thorn to these people.
Yeah, you know, years ago, they came out with this saying, "Be kind to your children because they will pick out your rest home." And I thought that was quite funny. But it ain't funny anymore.
You know, but I just love to find stories of individuals all across the country. And there's millions of them that absolutely will not weaken. They're not going to lay down just because they're a certain age and tell the neighborhood, "Okay, go ahead, bury me, kick dirt in my face, I'm done." I'm not going to be one of those. I know you're not one of those. We just absolutely, age is nothing more than a stupid number.
You know, this reminded of the fact that we should never give up. Like I had Paul Peterson draw me a cartoon or whatever of this pelican trying to swallow a frog.
Oh, I've got that one. I love it. Yes.
Yeah, and the frog has got the pelican by his throat, but he's got the frog inside his mouth. And the caption is, "Don't ever give up."
Nope. No.
I don't know how that turned out.
You know, with your knowledge of what you have done throughout your life in the automobile business and everything, it's absolutely a Reader's Digest or an encyclopedia of knowledge that a lot of these people today have no clue, nor will they ever have a clue. And that's why I'm saying the older generation, and I look at the generation above me with complete respect, what they've done, what they've learned, what they've accomplished, what they've achieved, I look at them with total respect.
Well, I'm glad you do, because I am one of them. But it's just wonderful to live at this time to see the change. Now, while I've been staying down in Las Vegas, and that reminds me of something. There's somebody who's going to come see me in January.
I hope we can make that. I really do. It's. I know that we have said we're going to stop in and see you, but boy, we're going to sure try.
Okay. Well, you give me a call then when you get it figured out.
I will.
But I want to quickly say something about, how everybody despised Harry Reid, because they've got a gal that took his place. She was the Attorney General for the state of Nevada.
Yeah.
And now she is Harry Reid's replacement. And she is going to be pretty nasty.
Anybody that replaces Harry Reid's got to be nasty.
Yeah, and it was I wasn't down there during election time, but I think it was a stacked deck, just like it was the last time he got elected.
Well, Keith, I appreciate your call as always. I got to get ready to go to the CBS News, but God bless you, man. You and your lovely wife, thank you and have a great day. Thank you so much.
You do the same.
All right, sir.
Bless you.
Thank you. I just really, I fight back, and I get fighting mad when people, the younger folks, think, well, just because you're old, you've got to kind of just sit there in that little rocking chair. Yeah, rock back and forth. Well, gee whiz, Martha, what's the weather out there? Well, it's a little cloudy. Oh, well, we better sit here with a little bit of a little rug over our lap and not get cold. We better just sit here till we get ready to go to bed. I'm not going to be that way. I don't want anybody to live that way. You got to just take life and milk it for every drop you can get out of it, regardless of how old you are. Age is just a stupid number. I'm done preaching. Got to go. Anyway, we've got the news from CBS coming up in just a moment. And then we're going to be talking about real men, phony men, etc. with Liberty McCarter from the Stream. And then a very interesting segment at 10:32 this morning about the Obama land grabs in Utah and Nevada. And we've got attorney Todd Gassiano from the Pacific Legal Foundation coming on to talk about that. And how hopefully Donald Trump will reverse this idiocy from the Obama administration. Holy cow. Watch out there. Watch out for the ice. Watch out for the slush. Please drive carefully. Walk carefully, because a lot of the sidewalks and everything with the slush, there's a lot of ice underneath, etc. Be careful out there, please. We're going to take a little break for about 6 or 7 minutes and listen to the big boys from CBS come in and mess up everything we've put together for the last 2 hours. We'll be back. Don't you go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Okay, here we go. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. Good morning to you and your family, your office staff, wherever you are. And, of course, Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And some of our great advertisers, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call, get on the route service, 734-6969. We've had this lady on our program before, and I'm looking forward to her conversation this morning, and her name is Liberty McCarter. I love that name, Liberty McCarter. I got to ask her about how that came into being, and she writes for the Stream, so let's say good morning to her. Good morning, Liberty. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I got to ask you, what about the name Liberty? Where did that come from? How did your parents decide on that name?
Well, I think my dad actually just thought of the name while my parents were still engaged, long before I was ever in the picture. And then one time when my mom found out that she was expecting a baby, they found out the due date was July 4th. So they were like, oh, this is a great time to use that name. I was born after July 4th, but that's the story.
Well, I'll tell you what, I really appreciated the article that you had written. I got to profess to you that I did not get a lot of time, confess to you, I should say, I get a lot of time to really read the article called Toxic Masculinity, but I wanted you to kind of explain it this morning. What's the matter with our men today? Have the real men left town? What's going on here?
Well, this article kind of hones in on a particular issue where a lot of people on the left have identified a problem and they call it toxic masculinity. And as I talk about in the article, it is a real problem. So just reacting against it and saying, oh, that's just not true or it's not an issue. That's not very helpful. But the issue is that liberals have identified this problem, but they're dealing with it in the wrong way. They're mixing correlation with causation. So they're thinking, okay, well, there's this problem with men who become abusive, or all these range of problems that a lot of men deal with, but they're blaming it on guns or manhood in general. And so they're trying, there's all these college programs popping up about, let's discuss expression of masculinities, and their intention is good, but they're not dealing with the real issue, which is just that any aspect of human nature can become toxic because we're all born with this sin nature, and we're all given, to acting out badly. And so that's what happens whenever men are given to sin. It becomes toxic, yes, but they're trying to solve the problem by just taking things away that aren't actually the cause of the problem.
Okay, let's break this down a little bit. You did a very comprehensive study writing this piece for The Stream called Toxic Masculinity and the Only True Antidote. Let me say that I think the media is the number one culprit for making men today look like a bunch of no good, worthless wussies. And I grew up in the era of the 60s with Father Knows Best and The Real McCoys with Walter Brennan and all those shows that absolutely put the man, the head of the family. He made the decisions the way it should be, and the family and the husband and wife got along very well. They were working together as a team and a unit. And lately, it's been nothing more but portraying men as just absolutely worthless dolts. Do you think I'm wrong?
No, I think you're right. And, you can see that even in just popular sitcoms, it's become where the father is usually like the stupid one in the family that everybody rolls their eyes at. And even, both parents or the kids don't respect the parents. And I think that a real fault of modern feminism is that, what began with a well-intentioned effort to just gain more rights for women has become and morphed into, more rights for women than men, and blaming all men for sins of the past, or, basically just trying to make men out to be the bad guys in general. And that's definitely not the case. And now, they're kind of blaming problems that some men definitely deal with on masculinity in general, saying, oh, well, if you like motorcycles, or if you like gun culture, or if you are into sports, that's contributing to sexual assault, which is just like, definitely untrue and a huge leap that doesn't make any sense. But it's because they're trying to solve, I think, this problem of sin without acknowledging what it is.
Let me interrupt you here, and I've got a bunch of questions. What does the left, the secularist left, these wussies, what do they want men to do or act like? Do they want men to just be basically fade away into obscurity? I mean, what do they want of men?
Well, one article that I was reading as I was writing this was from The Atlantic, and the writer, he was definitely a liberal, and it was from a male perspective, but he was saying that they're not claiming that all men or all masculinity is toxic, but I think they've identified a problem of, some men, who are abusing substances, and they become abusive or something, and they just correlate, those problems with completely innocent things like sports culture, gun culture. And so they're trying to, through like college programs and stuff called the Men's Project or something, they'll have young men come together to discuss expressions of masculinity. And I think they tend to be very critical on what we might consider tradition expressions of masculinity, like, things that are strong and manly and things that are not bad in themselves, but they're attacking that because they're blaming, the traditional strong male as being toxic.
Do you think...
So I think, I'm not really sure what they're wanting. I don't, sometimes I don't know if they're sure exactly what they're wanting. They just that's what happens when you try to solve a problem or you try to create a problem and you just go at it and you don't have the proper context or the proper understanding of what's happening, and you just are trying to cast blame somewhere, and then it just spirals into this big issue, and there's no point or direction to it. And so it does beg the question, well, what are you wanting them to do? Are you wanting them to give up all traditional expressions of, what they deem to be masculine? That's what you would think.
I honestly believe, and you're going to have to convince me otherwise, that the LGBT community is absolutely behind this absolute undermining of men and women in our society, acting like men and women with the God-given gender that they were born with, raising their families with men and women as figureheads in the family. I blame that movement. Do you agree with me or not?
I think it definitely has contributed, that ideology has contributed to the rise of, this whole toxic masculinity movement. And but I don't know if I would blame it exclusively, just because, there are a lot of factors culturally and in society and everything, I think, contributing to it. But I think one of the paragraphs in my article, I talk about how we've all known men who have these problems and who are abusive or who do take advantage of women sexually, and they're out there. That actually happens, of course. But the modern society and maybe parts of the LGBT movement or modern feminism are trying to blame those problems on traditional manhood because maybe it makes them uncomfortable, or it doesn't really fit into the proper talking points anymore for those movements, and so they're just trying to cast those problems, are trying to blame them on traditional masculinity.
Now, I'll say this, Liberty, and I think I'd really like to hear your remarks about this. Recently, I think we've all witnessed some changes in the way news is produced, analyzed, and given to the general public, and there's been a big push for more and more women to be the anchors at various news shows and programs. I'll give you a classic example. Megyn Kelly was with Fox News, making millions. She's now decided to go to NBC News. She could very well get somebody on her program, be very poignant, very direct, and her questions were supposedly very astute. However, Tucker Carlson does the same thing in the same mannerisms, the same mode of interviewing people, and he's considered blowhard, condescending, and partisan as a hack. How come men are always put down and women are always built up?
That's a good question. I do think that there is a lot of, unfairness in the way men and women are treated, and, men are blamed for a lot of things. So I don't really know why that is. But, yeah, I definitely, I think people have, and I think it's part of actually this movement from media and the liberal media, blaming toxic masculinity and saying, oh, if you like guns or if you're very masculine, then you hate on women and you're to blame for all these problems. Well, then people see that, and then it causes them to be more intimidated by men, and so people kind of have that in their minds subconsciously because that's what we're being fed by the culture and the media. And so it really goes to show what, irresponsible reporting or just, making up problems and blaming someone in the media, that really does have a big impact on the culture as a whole and how they view things.
Has the feminist movement in this country, and I'll give you an example. This took place about 3 or 4 years ago. I was going into a business, and right behind me, a woman was going into the same business. So I opened the door, I stepped sideways to let her go in, and she looked at me and said, "I can open my own door, sir." Why is it that the women can get away with that kind of an uneducated, being very obtuse and very rude, but a man could never do that?
Right, yeah. That seems ridiculous to me. of course, I can open my own doors. I can do lots of things by myself, but I'm always very appreciative whenever a man decides to do that for me because it's polite. So, and I mean, I even hold the door open for anybody coming in behind me. So that kind of stuff just shows, like, the extremism of the liberal movement, that to the point of ridiculousness where people can't even be polite to each other anymore without taking it as an insult. And so, and I think, that too, just like, what men are traditionally or in the past boys have been raised to do is to respect women and, open the door for them or, be polite. And it's, they're raised to be respectful. But then nowadays, when people keep focusing on toxic masculinity and they blame it on, traditional expressions of manhood, and then a boy who was raised to open the door for ladies goes to college and does that, and then he gets pounced on as, being, blamed for a chauvinistic society or something,
right,
which is just not even true. So, yeah, that's ridiculous.
What about now, when you wrote this story, you did the cause, the effect, the problem, and then also the answer. What is the answer to this? And I know the answer of what you wrote, but I think I'd like you to really spell it out for us.
Well, yes, and I write in here, as a Christian who believes that Jesus Christ is the only Savior, I wrote that he's the only antidote for this, because we can delve into the problems of toxic masculinity, or even, on the right, we like to talk about, the faults of the modern feminist movement, but all of that really boils down to one thing, and it's sin. We were all born with it. We're all imperfect. We all make mistakes. And so it will materialize in different ways. So there's definitely, if you want to call it that, sure, there's toxic masculinity, but really it's just sin nature being expressed in different people. And I write about how Jesus, he defies stereotypes of men back when he walked the earth. He talked to women, he respected them, back when nobody did that. And then today, whatever stereotype you may have for a man, I think Jesus is just a perfect example. He was a warrior. He's depicted in Revelation as riding in on a white horse, leading an army. But he washed the feet of his disciples, which was the lowliest expression of servitude in his time. He calls out religious leaders for being hypocrites. He's blunt with his own friends in the Bible, but he's also very gentle. He welcomes children. He heals the sick. He can be stoic, when he was being crucified and accused, he remained quiet. But then in other parts of the Bible, whenever he's filled with righteous anger, he turns over tables in the temple. And then, he weeps openly in the Bible whenever he's moved with empathy and sorrow. So it's just like, if you want to know what a perfect man looks like, then you look here. You don't try to go to the liberal solution of delving into expressions of masculinities and are guns causing it, or are big muscles causing it. That's what they're actually claiming. And you don't say, oh, well, men can never cry, and all that kind of stuff either. It's just, Jesus was a perfect example for not only men, but everybody to emulate.
That's right.
And, I believe he's the only answer to sin. And so that's what I wrote, is that if we really want to solve the problem of toxic masculinity or anything else, we have to look at the only true answer, which is Jesus.
And I really appreciate and respect what you just said, but we're never going to see a change for the better in our society unless we see the secular left start accepting the principles of the Bible and the works and the thoughts of the holy men of God spoke as they were moved by the Holy Ghost. We're never going to see a change in society as long as society, and especially the media, keeps downgrading Christianity and the Bible itself.
Yeah, that's true. And, we can't obviously force everybody to believe this. I think one thing to do, though, is to take an issue like toxic masculinity and say, okay, it might be kind of ridiculous what the left is trying, like how they're trying to go about this issue, and they're taking it way too far, but there is a problem there that they've identified, and, just being able to converse respectfully and say, well, how about this? How about, just like, here's a great example of it, man. You can point to Jesus. You don't have to force people to believe in him or accept him as their savior, but you can say, here's a good example, and you can talk about the issues, see what their concerns are, and then propose a new way or propose a different idea of how to deal with that. And so hopefully, we're not going to convince anybody, but hopefully with just promoting intelligible and respectful discourse, we can help promote better ideas.
I urge everybody to read this article. How do they go about logging onto the stream and reading Total Masculinity? How did they go about finding that, Liberty?
You can just go to stream.org, and if you scroll down on the homepage, you'll be able to find it, or you can just, in the search bar, you can search toxic masculinity, and it will show up. Also, my Twitter handle is @LibertyMcCarter, and the link to the articles that I've written is in my Twitter bio. So if anybody wants to go there, they can see all the articles that I've written, including this one. So stream.org or Twitter @LibertyMcCarter, and you can find it there.
This article is very interesting, and I'm going to keep this article. What's next? I mean, are you looking into a bunch, if you will, of social issues that you're going to write about?
Well, one thing that really does interest me is just kind of looking at the issues that are dominating the cultural conversation, and especially for millennials. I am a millennial, and so millennials get a bad rap, and a lot of people try to analyze, what they think or what they're doing. But I kind of like to come at it from a perspective of somebody who is a millennial and who is optimistic about my generation, and look at things that we're dealing with. So a lot of colleges and college campuses are promoting these courses for men to try to relearn masculinity. So I wanted to talk about that, but just a lot of issues dealing between men and women and culture, and how millennials deal with that. That's definitely something that I'll be delving into. And as I was researching this story about toxic masculinity, I realized that it does go very deep, and there are a lot of concerns about the issue on both sides. And so it's just interesting to look at those and try to figure out, what is concerning people and what is bothering people, and what are they trying to fix. And so I'll definitely be looking into it more.
One last question, Liberty. Are you optimistic with the Trump administration coming in and replacing a very secularist administration like the Obama administration? Do you have high hopes that maybe things can change for the better?
I do. I am optimistic. I think that there have been a lot of good cabinet appointments. I think that this administration will, in general, at least it seems like so far, be friendlier to, Christian influence in politics and the administration. But even more than that, I think no matter who is the president, no matter who might have won the election, I think that what we should do as a society, and especially for Christians, is focus on just, our own backyard at
Absolutely.
home, and try to engage with people you may disagree with. Reach out in your community, because it's great to have a good federal government, and it's great to have a president friendly to your ideas. I mean, that is extremely helpful. I'm not underestimating that. But also, I know that societal change happens from the bottom up. And so if you really want to make a difference, then it has to start on a one-on-one level. So hopefully, people will do that, and will continue to do that, and just try to make an impact in their local community, no matter who's president. And I think that will, in the long run, go a lot further.
Liberty McCarter, excellent author of an article for The Stream about toxic masculinity. Liberty, God bless. Have a wonderful day and come back soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Very interesting conversation, and I urge you to try to read that article. Very well done. Thank you, Liberty. I appreciate it. You know, on Thursdays, we have a segment on our program called School Days in Cassia County, and I'm very, very appreciative of our sponsors, longtime sponsors of that segment. A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and the Ambulatory Surgery Center. First of all, A Child's World, don't forget that now is the time to stock up on all the winter clothes. They're 40% off. Wow, you can save all kinds of money. And they've got all the baptism outfits, blessing outfits. They have, of course, the Cherokee scrubs and the shoes. Oh, my goodness, it's all there at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. Number to call where they can save you money on outpatient surgeries, 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Don't forget, for glaucoma surgery and life-saving colonoscopies and much, much more, call them today. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 677-8888, and A Child's World, 1308 Overland and Burley, bringing you School Days in Cassia County. Right now, we're going to take a little break, send it back over to our main studios. I'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you, and welcome back to our last half hour. We'll get our guest on in just a moment. I want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Inventory crunch. Yeah, they got to make room for all kinds of new items, and they're having a clearance sale where you can save up to 75% store-wide. I am not kidding you. On 12 months, interest-free financing. You better check it out. Inventory crunch going on right now at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, all the mattresses for better sleep, all your flooring, all your carpet. My goodness, TV entertainment centers, assorted bar stools. The list goes on and on. Save all kinds of money. 75% store-wide clearance sale with savings at 75%. You're going to love it. Stop in and see our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They're waiting to serve you. Let's go to the phone line right now, and we have with us an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, Todd Gaziano. I love saying that name. Gaziano, Italian. Good morning. How are you, Todd?
Very good, and I enjoy hearing you say it.
Did I say it right? That's the main thing.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Well, my roommate in college was Italian, and I was blessed to go back to Staten Island, New York, and partake of all of his family's goodies, from Basta Bazool, you name it. And, oh, boy, you folks know how to make food and how to eat food.
Absolutely, absolutely. and hopefully we'll all be able to enjoy it more if our oppressive government becomes a less part of our life.
Amen to that. Let me ask you a very simple, naive question. Can we, the people, finally start getting our voices heard with the Trump administration and absolutely throw out the Obama land grabs, or is it a done deal?
Great question, but no, the Trump administration can easily undo with a pen a simple proclamation, anything that Obama did with just a proclamation. And so, as you may know, I co-authored an article that was in the Wall Street Journal recently, and your listeners can find the complete article by going to our website, pacificlegal.org, and I think there's a slider that has a link to that entire article. And we lay out the argument about how simple it would be for Trump to undo these, notwithstanding that some in the White House are claiming that Obama's orders denying drilling on certain Arctic and Atlantic Ocean and creating these vast new abusive monuments are permanent. That just isn't so. They're not permanent.
Let me ask you this, Todd. I know a lot of people all over the United States I know many of my friends live in Utah where this area of 1.35 million acres would be in effect, and also 300,000 acres in Nevada. I can tell you that they are livid. I can tell you that they are ready to pick up pitchforks and march down Pennsylvania Avenue. People have had enough of this land grab by the federal government. Why are they doing this?
Well, they're doing it to please a certain, group of environmental extremists who don't like the deal that was already unfair to the West, which is we will keep 70% of your state as federal property, but we will pass laws encouraging public use, like grazing especially, but also exploration for minerals and other sorts of use. So even though that's an unfair deal to begin with, because in the eastern states people can actually own the land themselves and take better care of it, it was a second-best solution. But the environmentalists want to violate even that second-best solution, and they want to prevent grazing, which they consider to be, offensive or something like that. And that's where the outrage lies, and that's what this is all about. The Utah congressmen unanimously were together on legislation that would have permanently done a better job of protecting some of the area within that new national park, but it would have allowed reasonable public use of the rest. And that's what Obama and his environmental extreme allies didn't want to allow.
Well, you know as well as I do, far better than I, being a lawyer that looks at these stories every single day, the American public, the tax-paying American public, I, for one, am absolutely livid over the fact that somebody with the stroke of a pen is going to take our land that we support with our tax dollars away from our use. That makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Great point that, of course, we pay taxes, and everyone in the West pays taxes, but they don't get the same tax benefit off the federal land that the federal government holds. In some states, there's a formula where they may get some rents, but when you remove it completely from public use, they don't get any value of the land. Imagine how Bostonians would react if 90% of the surrounding counties and areas were all of a sudden removed from not only private ownership, but from even private use. They wouldn't stand for that. But they kind of smile and chuckle when that's done to people out in the West.
What about when you have issues like the Escalante staircase and the now additional 1.35 million acres that Obama wants to lock up? I mean, what about people's lives? What about communities? What about people's future, whether they're in the livestock business or whatever? I mean, this man just totally has come in and thumbed his nose at these people and their family situations.
Absolutely, but there are dozens of impacts, some of which in each of these different communities where there's supposedly a big national monument declared, that even I'm not sure, but you can't use ATV vehicles, so you can't enjoy recreation. If you have a tourist business, that may be shut down. You can only use certain approved roads. You can't even hike unless you use approved trails. But that use is generally reserved for the backpacking hippies who support these designations. As long as you're not disabled, who cares about them? At least according to these designations. We're suing in one area, by the way, PLF, because one of our clients is disabled, and limitations on where this person could access hiking is limited. But then there's the mining industry. And all sorts of other economic activity. If you live in one of these counties, but 90% of your land is all of a sudden taken away from you, it's going to have innumerable negative impact.
You know, you mentioned, I don't use the word disabled because of one big reason. I am physically challenged. I am on crutches. I have nothing to hide. And for people that want to get out and observe and partake in the great outdoors in this United States of America, they may be physically challenged, but they as taxpayers, they have every single right to, whether use a four-wheeler, a horse, or whatever, to go out and enjoy the same benefits that some 6-foot-tall, blue-eyed, blonde-haired hiker has. And I'm very adamant that I'm going to fight any administration or any government that tries to take that privilege away.
Well, I stand corrected in my usage, or I'm glad to adopt yours. But yes, it's an outrage that our client in one case, who is physically disabled in a similar, I think, manner, physically challenged to you, used to be able to use logging roads and get out in the middle of some of these beautiful forests or other areas and still get around. Other people could use ATVs, but the real greenies, they want to shut it down as much as possible. They just want to rule the public land out of bounds for most of the public, except for a few of them who could take a week, who are able-bodied and could take a week to go camping.
Let me ask you this, Todd, and I'm not quite sure how to phrase this, but what Obama did is just basically, in my estimation, lip service to the environmentalists while he still has 10 days left in office. However, that being said, what about the lawsuits that probably will come forth with the Wild Rivers units and all the Habitat for Humanity, or the Habitat for Animals groups and the Sierra clubs and everything? Can Trump turn this thing around without having this stuff mitigated in the courts for 20 years?
Well, if Trump doesn't act, then it'll be hard to challenge them in courts. But if Trump does act, then the presumption is very much in favor of his decision. And I think it'll be very hard for the courts to overturn when he opens the land back up, especially if he cites as a reason the prior president's abuse. The courts ought to defer to that. But I'm not worried about court suits, because during the pendency of them for 20 years, people should be able to use the land, and eventually it would be in favor of keeping them open. And, I should add, Congress can then make those permanent. Congress needs to amend the main law, the Antiquities Act, which was really only intended in 1906 to allow the preservation of small archaeological sites,
right,
or historic landmarks like a battleground. It was never intended to lock up millions of acres. One draft of the bill would have limited the monuments to 320 acres, another to 640, but the crafty Teddy Roosevelt administration convinced them to put in a provision which said that it shall be the smallest area necessary to preserve the objects at issue. And what they're really thinking the objects were archaeological objects. But subsequent presidents, actually starting with Teddy Roosevelt, began to abuse that almost immediately.
Todd, one of the dumbest, and I mean this, dumbest statements I have ever heard coming from the Sierra Club and others of that ilk is, we've got to save this for future generations. And the absolute ineptness of that statement, nobody can use it now. They're certainly not going to get to use it in the future. How dumb is that?
It's especially dumb when forest roads are used to protect the forest. Sometimes I'm talking about different types of protection, but there's nothing that prevents. This is federal land, so if there's something that really needs to be protected, there are a few Indian sites within that 1.35 million acre. Those were already protected, and shame on the government if the government wasn't doing what was necessary to protect them. You don't need to lock up $1.4 million to protect the area that needs to be protected. ATVs driving on 1.4 million acres of land is not going to destroy it for future generations, but it will prevent this generation and our children from enjoying it.
You know, okay, but what do you do on behalf of the Pacific Legal Foundation? I mean, do you have a course of action already mapped out? Have you got your people in line to go to the Trump administration and make sure that they're aware that this has to be repealed? I mean, do you have all your dominoes lined up and ready to fall? What are you doing?
We've got a few things lined up. First was getting that op-ed that I urge your listeners to read, to go public, to refute the idea that Trump can't reverse it. I also have been speaking with Trump transition officials and providing them additional background information on their legal authority. I've also been meeting with people up on Capitol Hill on that same issue, so that they are separately meeting with Trump officials, one of which I'll tell you, Senator Mike Lee from Utah gave a speech in the Senate last Thursday where he cited the op-ed that I wrote, and he said that he was speaking to the Trump administration. And finally, we at PLF are looking into whether we can sue to overturn a few of the ones that are not just abusive, but actually downright illegal, and we hope that that will provide additional attention to the Trump administration. We would, if we file such a suit, what we would love is for the Trump administration to simply agree with us, confess error, settle the suit. That would help sort of draw attention and force some action from them in a few months.
Aren't we going to have to also address, Todd, and maybe I'm in the wrong course of questioning here, but tell me, aren't we going to also have to address the idiocy and the asinine attitude of the Endangered Species Act?
We certainly are trying, and we continue to bring suits to draw attention to abuses under it. But that is, your listeners probably know, not only does that limit use of public land that should not happen, but it severely impacts what you can do on your private land.
Yeah.
And as Scalia noted in one case, that was a really outrageous extension of the federal government's power. And we have one lawsuit where we got the Endangered Species Act struck down as it applies to one so-called endangered species, the Utah prairie dog.
Right.
And that case is on appeal. I hope it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and we can declare at least a part of it to be unconstitutional. And then we need to continue to petition Congress to clarify and make that law a little bit more effective and a little bit more rational.
Therein also, and I've got to wrap it up here in just a minute, but I want you to comment on this. The appointment of the next Supreme Court justice is absolutely paramount, in my opinion, to getting rid of a lot of this garbage that was imposed on us by the Obama administration. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, but it's hard to see how anyone, they've got some great people on the list that are being considered, will be even quite as good as Justice Scalia across the board. But we can hope that we can get close to the court we had before his passing. And then we can hope, and that court was beginning to overturn a lot of Obama rules, but then we can also hope that Trump would get a second and maybe even third appointment, and that then the Supreme Court could be even a stronger force for the liberties that are actually guaranteed in our Constitution.
One final thought here, Todd. What about the mindset of those east of the Mississippi River? Are they starting to get the message that we out here in the West are sick and tired of being kicked like a dog on the back porch?
Many of them are, but I'm also trying to raise another argument, which is that the abuse that you all have suffered is coming east. And I've used a few examples, but just to cite one, the Antiquities Act, Obama tried to declare a national monument of millions of acres in the sea off the coast of Massachusetts and in Maine that will limit fishing. So it's coming to a place near them, and hopefully that will increase their sympathy overall for this kind of abuse.
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, I'm so blessed to know that we have people like Todd Gassiano with the Pacific Legal Foundation fighting for us. Todd, if they want more information, how can they go to find out more about Pacific Legal Foundation?
They should go to our website, pacificlegal.org, and under the Issues tab, they can see a lot of the issues and cases we're taking on and find a lot of other information about what we do as well.
All right, you're tops in my book. Keep fighting back there, partner. We appreciate you. Todd Gassiano, Pacific Legal Foundation. God bless. Come back soon.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Thank you. I tell you what, I'm so glad to hear that what Obama has wrought can be thrown away. And I hope that Trump absolutely reverses all of Obama's last-minute land grabs. Absolutely. That's his legacy. Don't let the doorknob hit you on the way out, Obama. I don't like that man. Oh, we've got to get a weather forecast here. My goodness, it's going to look really bad outside. I got heavy, heavy clouds over there. We'll find out more in just a minute. The weather is brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I keep mentioning this, and a good friend of mine called me the other day and said, oh, my goodness, let's get that marinated prime rib from Scarrows. Oh, it's delicious, like eating candy. Oh, it's wonderful. All of this and much, much more at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather forecast.
Here's your weather forecast for this very wet Monday, January 9th, and we are expecting heavy amounts of precipitation between now and Wednesday, so that is going to create some possible flooding conditions, so especially in the low-lying areas, and expect local creeks to reach flood stage. We are looking at rain and snow showers for today. Winds out of the southwest right around 17 miles an hour. High of 39 tonight, low of 26. That's going to create some very slick driving conditions out there for tonight. Tomorrow, snow showers are in the forecast for the higher elevations, possible rain showers for the lower elevations. Winds will continue out of the southwest, right around 16 miles an hour. Temperature's not going to be moving much for tomorrow. High of 36, overnight low of 35. Wednesday, again, more rain and snow showers in the forecast, about a 60% shot at that. Winds out of the west right around 16 miles an hour. High of 37, overnight low of 13. We're going to get a couple of days of reprieve as we get on into the weekend. Extended forecast Thursday, mostly sunny skies. High of 25, overnight low of 7. Then partly cloudy and 18 for Friday, so that means that everything's going to be icing up again. Please be careful out there today. That is your weather for Zebeth.
Oh, man, she did a great job on that weather forecast. Brought to you by our friends at Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Whew, I got time for one call. Give me a call quickly, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I would love to tell you all the people that are going to be on the program tomorrow, but I can't. I can give you a couple of them. Frosty Woolridge is going to be here tomorrow. Dr. History is going to be on the program tomorrow. But I've got some people working for me back in Washington, D.C., lining up some other guests for 9:30 and 10:30. So I can't really specify who they are. But we will. We will. I promise you. Have a good program. Let's see, what else have I got to tell you? Be careful out there. You heard the weather, and you know with all this melting slush, mush, ice, water, whatever, it is going to get cold later on tonight, and I urge everybody, whether you're young or middle-aged or senior citizens, be careful out there. You don't want to crack your old noggin slipping around. I know it's hard enough for me just trying to get from my house out to my barn, my little feedlot area, and take care of everything. Holy smokes, is it slippery. So please be careful out there. I know some other folks that are really concerned about your safety, your driving safety, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And they've got a neat little handout, winter driving resource guide, and it kind of goes through everything about the tires and the tire chains and what to do, what not to do, how to look for ice on your wipers and what to do and take care of everything. Avoid driving at night or early in the morning with the very, very slick conditions. This is a neat little driving resource guide, and it also highlights some of the excellent snow and ice tires that they have at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, very important in cold weather, all of this and more, and the best in service to you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Wheels, sometimes in this slush, mush, ice, snow, it's not real easy even getting into the radio station over there, is it?
No, sir. I came in this morning, and I was even having a hard time getting up the ramp. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like being on crutches.
You know, the thing I was going to say to you, though, is don't let somebody pull a dirty trick on you and ice the ramp on your way out, because you're going to say, whee, before you crash.
I'm not going to say anything because I feel like my cohorts might get the good idea to do that. So it's kind of... I got to keep my mouth shut.
I tell you what, just be really careful out there. The conditions are not good for anyone, let alone somebody that's walking with a cane or a walker or is in a wheelchair or on crutches. That ice underneath that water, oh my goodness, be careful. I think we're going to wrap it up. Wheels, good to have you back on the program, and thank you for all you do over there. And we're going to kind of wrap things up here a little bit and say don't forget to tune in tomorrow. Zeb at the Ranch right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and then streaming live all over the universe on ZebBell.com. And remember this, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow morning.